University Marching Band. For your halftime entertainment, we celebrate the 43-year reign of the speed metal kings, Metallica. With 9 Grammy Awards and 14 nominations, 38 concert tours worldwide, and 11 studio albums that span 4 decades, the Titans of Thrash remain the standard by which all other metal is measured. We begin with a 1984 classic from their second album, For Whom the Bell Tolls, followed by the 1992 tour anthem, Wherever I May Roam. And then, let's turn down the house and light up the stage for the Auburn University Marching Band and their show, Metallica.
Wednesday night is back again, and yes, that means it's time for another Auburn Family Night. This is the show each and every week here at E2C Network where you, the Auburn family, take center stage. We're going to take your comments and topics and questions, and of course, your phone calls too. Come on in, stay a while, hang out with us. Let's cover the Auburn experience. War Eagle, everybody, welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, where we get together, we sit down, and we discuss and share that Auburn experience. All about Auburn sports, Auburn culture, Auburn family stuff. You all know the drill. If it's orange and blue, it's what we do. So thank you so much for joining us in what we're going to do this evening on Auburn Family Night. As the season approaches, that being football season and all fall sports season, we got a lot to be excited about in that Auburn experience. So let's get into all those different things this evening. To start off the show, we always want to encourage you, if you can, smash that like button, double click whatever it tells you to do on your particular app that you're watching. I think it's just smash the like button everywhere, the share button. All that is very helpful, but also let us know that you're here. Check in with us. So many of you are already doing it. You know the drill. All you got to do is just tell us where you're watching from with a War Eagle. Present yourself to the chat, and we'll know who's hanging out with us this evening. Participate in the chat as well. Bring up topics and comments and questions. We'll obviously center around mainly what you all want to discuss tonight. I am the puppet. You are the puppet master, so take advantage of that in whatever ways that you can. And you could also utilize the call-in link. It is now available to you, so you can start getting in line now if you'd like to take advantage of the call-in link. And it's pretty easy. You just hit it. It's at the top of the YouTube and the Facebook chat. If you're watching on X, you'll have to come on over to one of those formats to utilize it. And you can then be a part of the show in that way by calling in and letting us know what's on your mind, what you want to discuss, all those different things out there this evening. So let me give you a little bit of a table setting to start off with, and then we'll start getting involved in the chat. You guys can gear up those topics and comments and questions. Certainly, we sit here in what is the final days of the Auburn summer, meaning that just around the corner, classes are going to start just around the corner. Auburn's going to look like Auburn again in terms of what those of us that don't get to live there always picture it as, just teeming with life and everything from students and athletics and all that kind of stuff. So this is the end of it, folks, and we are in the nitty gritty of it. 2 weeks left until the football season begins. Soccer is underway tomorrow. I think it's either tomorrow or Friday. But I've already been doing preseason games. Volleyball's not too far along. Cross country and equestrian won't be too far off after that. Folks, we got so much to be excited about in the sports world, in the culture world, all of it. Man, it's a good time to be an Auburn Tiger. Okay, I'm going to say hello to a bunch of you and start addressing some of the things. We'll get into calls and stuff in just a little bit here. Kevin's checking in from Wanda's profile tonight. Corey, good to see you. Stan. Lord have mercy, 18 days left. I think Corey's going to lose his mind if every day is just creeping by for Corey and he's just itching, chomping at the bit. Thomas, Stan, good to see all of you this evening. Thank you all so much for checking in with us. Summer is almost over. Fall is on the horizon. It probably won't feel like it for some time, but yes, it is on the horizon. But there'll be that little whiff of fall, beautiful football fall in the air eventually, and it'll be like a glorious day. It will. We've already got a call out for you, Mr. Manville. We want to be taken to school. Professor Manville here to drop some O-line updates for us tonight, or opinions or thoughts or whatever he wants to do. he can always have the floor to take us to school in that regard if he would like to. The phone lines are open for anybody, so y'all don't be shy this evening. Come on in, say hello, and we're going to get into a lot of different things this evening. We'll get the show started off like we typically do with our first caller. He's usually ready to roll, so let's go ahead. I'm going to challenge everybody. You should try to beat Kevin into the call-in link from this. That should be the thing. Here he is. Good to see you, my friend. What's going on?
Hey, number 23.
Number 23
Your
tonight.
Class Hunter.
Well, 23?
Yeah, 23. Yeah.
He's 27.
Oh,
Jarquez Hunter's 27. It's close. You almost got there, but the hat. I love
Jemiah Cobb.
Jeremiah Cobb, Ronnie Brown, Ontario McCaleb. There was a defensive back that was 23 at one point too.
Ryan
Williams ran in 20. So you listen, there's a lot of options out there you could choose. I don't know if you watched the podcast 2 weeks ago, Kevin, but
you remember
my co-host Austin, he got a 23 jersey at the surplus sale.
How did he do that?
He went to the surplus sale and there was one there. And now let me be very clear. It doesn't say Ontario McCaleb on it, but there were some clues that he looked for, and he's pretty sure. We'll put that clip out again.
I want number 8.
You want number 8? Let me guess why. Cam Coleman. You got to tell me, Kevin, favorite player. Who is it?
Cam Coleman.
Well, of all time, of all players of all time, who is your favorite?
Sammy Coates.
Sammy Coates. I don't know that I've ever heard you talk about Sammy here. Maybe I'm forgetting it.
I've been talking to him on Facebook.
Have you? Is he hanging out with you a little bit on Facebook?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you are better friends with him than me, apparently.
Some reason he don't have no picture on there.
Well, it may not be Sammy Coates then. It may just be somebody masquerading. That happens a lot. It's gotten me before too, Kevin. But sometimes it's not the actual person you think it is.
I'm glad Chase Matthews committed to Auburn.
Jace, yeah, that was a big commitment, wasn't it, last Friday? A lot of excitement around that one. That wide receiver recruiting is doing some big things right now for Auburn.
Hopefully we get another commitment next week.
Well, I don't, you know me. I'm always going to say this. I don't really pay attention to those things until they're actually committed, so I can't tell you who the next likely candidate is or whatever. To me, there's really no point in worrying about them until they actually commit, and they're not even guaranteed to be here once they commit. So,
Malcolm Simmons will play this year.
Yeah, it looks like he's all good to go. He got the clearance that he needed, not just from the university, but with the charges being dropped. So it looked like we're good to go on that front. It's nice to have him back in the fold.
Is he which number is he?
He's number 4 this year. So
number 4?
Yeah, he switched numbers. A lot of switching of numbers this year, I think, for some prominent players.
Is Perry number 3?
I believe Perry is 3. Eric Singleton's 1. Who's
Sam 2? Turner, number 18.
Yes, that's right. Sam Turner's 18.
Who's number 2?
I don't know. I can look it up on the roster for you if you want. But I don't know if
Cam Newton.
Well, you're right. There's probably not going to be a number 2. Let's confirm that. Yeah, there's not a single number 2 available on there. Deuce did not pick that. I think that's honestly, I'd be okay with a number 2 on defense because that's not.
How is Jackson Arnold looking in practice?
I haven't been to any practices this season. Since I live far away, I don't get to go to many of them, if any.
You live in Atlanta, Georgia?
Well, around and about there. I don't usually give away my exact location, but about there. Yeah, can't let the spies know where to come find me, right?
Yeah,
the Bama spies are going to come get me someday, so I can't tell them my exact location. Look, you saw what Harvey Updike did to the tree. Can you imagine if they found out where our stronghold is? So I'm just going to leave it up in the air for now.
Did he die?
Yes, he did pass away.
Oh my.
Yeah, it's sad for his family, but unfortunately, he didn't really have repentance for what he did. So we'll just kind of leave it at that.
You remember this woman? She's a diehard Auburn fan, and she called in on Paul Feinbaum name
I'm not exactly who sure you're talking about. I haven't watched Paul Feinbaum or listened
names
in years.
her name. I forgot her name, but she and her granddaughter died in a car wreck.
Oh, well, you're just dropping all the sad stories on us this night. Jeez. Well, yeah, I think I vaguely remember a story like that, but I couldn't tell you the details of it, Kevin. But there's been a lot of good Auburn fans over the years.
And I can't wait for the season starts. 2 more weeks.
Me either. 2 weeks as of Friday. We're going to be out in Waco, Texas. Have you ever been out to Waco, Kevin?
No, are you going?
I'm probably not going, but I have been out there a lot, unfortunately, because, well, I say unfortunately just because it's so far away, but I was there for weddings, for things like that.
Does Walker White start or not?
I have no clue. I have not even begun to look at after this Friday. I will start looking in more detail about the season, about games. I promise you, I have tried my best to stay away from any type of things like that to start overforming opinions.
When will you want my prediction of the score?
You can listen, our listeners, our viewers, everybody here, you can give predictions whenever you want. I just, I'm not going to do mine until I think it's about appropriate time to do so.
Like a week from the game?
Well, I usually do about 2 weeks out from the start of the season, doing a regular season prediction show or some version of that. Austin and I have already kind of planned to do that in segments, at least on the next 2 shows for the podcast. But I usually will do a score prediction show on Thursdays before a game.
I listen to the podcast. I love it.
Well, awesome. I appreciate that very much. Where do you listen at? On Spotify? Or where do you listen at?
No, U2C Network.
Well, are you talking about Apple? Or are you talking about YouTube?
YouTube, yeah.
Okay, well, so you watch it, yeah, or I guess you can listen to it as well. But either way, we're glad that you're there, so we appreciate that very much.
Was that Austin talking to you? Talking about the commitment?
Yes, if you saw the clip of us talking, that was during the main show. That segments, yes, that was him and me. That's my main co-host, my only co-host really for that show, talking about.
How is Thomas doing?
Maybe we'll hear from him tonight. I don't know. He was in the chat earlier. He said hello.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll hear from him tonight. I got time for one more question. What you got for me?
Who you think be the starting wide receivers?
I think it's pretty obvious that you can see, Cam and Eric. Outside of that, I've really not made up my mind yet. But I think those two are probably. I know that's pretty obvious, but I think
Cam and Eric, they will be out there.
Yeah.
And the my pick is Perry Thompson and Bryce Kane.
Hey, listen, if the Freeze Four gets out there together, that'd be awesome. I would love that. If they get all 4 of them and then a 5th one in there, that'd be awesome.
I will see you September 6th.
All right, I'm holding you to it. Let's make it happen. Okay, sir?
Okay, we're going. Bye.
Good to see you, Kevin. Bye. All right, good to hear from Kevin this evening. You guys can call in too, just like he did. Just click the link at the top of the chat. It's pinned on YouTube. If you're on Facebook watching, if there's a lot of comments, sometimes there is, sometimes there's not. You may have to scroll a little bit. Just click the link. You get to choose if you want to be on camera or not on camera. Kyle, slow down. And then you can come on in, hang out for a few minutes with me, and spend some time talking about whatever you want to talk about tonight. There's Thomas, Kevin. He was in there giving you a little bit of a shout out this evening. All right, let's see. What else do y'all want to start diving into this evening? Don't be shy. Let's jump into the chat and get going here. Stan asked this earlier. Stan asked, how many games does Freeze have to win? So I know that you're asking this, Stan, in the vein of to win, to not be fired, things like that. You're probably not going to be shocked I know you've watched me for a while now. I just don't engage in that type of line drawing right now when I personally believe that coaches should be given a minimum of 4 years outside of extenuating circumstances. I don't think that there's a number specifically that we should be drawing a line in the sand on, because it lacks numbers need context. Stats need context. A great example is you can look at the greatest stats in the world, and maybe because they played against lesser talent. Somebody's stats may be awful, but that may be because they had so much to fight against. Like if you look at, there's a stat out there about Tank Bigsby about how many yards after contact he had. And if you looked at Auburn's rushing stats and rushing just prowess that year, you'd be like, well, what happened? Look at the yards after contact. But it was happening behind the line. So that's the context that's lacking in this. So I don't really engage in that kind of stuff, nor push that. It's a narrative that's very prevalent in the Auburn space right now, and I just think can get a little bit of toxic nature at times. So that's why I don't even really go there on that line of thinking. Not saying that you don't have to. You can certainly do it in your own, but it's just not something that I do. Let's see here. Evan, good to see a lot of people checking in from our TikTok space this evening. Good to see you guys. Auburn has an easy schedule compared to last year's past. I won't be surprised if we win 9 to 10. I'm glad you phrased it that way, Neil. I'm fine with people saying that it may be easier compared to last year, but there's also been this notion in this narrative out there that I completely disagree with, that it's an easy schedule. It is not easy. When you got to play Georgia and Alabama every year, it is not easy. You're playing in the SEC. It doesn't matter who you play. It ain't going to be easy. Going to Baylor is not going to be an easy thing. It may be easier in retrospect, but you got to start on the road in the SEC too. At Texas, what was that? Texas A&M, at Oklahoma. It's going to be tough, man. It is going to be tough season. Could you imagine trying to guard all of Auburn's wide receiver core at the same time? Somebody will get some yards if we can block for our quarterback to get the ball to them. You can have all that great talent out there, but you got to give them an opportunity to do that. Sam says would call in, but I'm at a new what's a sand court? New sand court playing some games. I don't know what that means. AU defense is going to suffocate the opposing defenses if we cannot turn the ball over. If we cannot turn the ball over, we will be a force. Okay, you're saying because the defense is already set up, if we just won't turn the ball back over. I think I got it there. Yeah, I mean, obviously we're talking a lot of not hyperbole, a lot of ifs, this, and that's. We're going to figure it all out in 2 weeks. I know y'all are just chomping at the bit. Sam says, I heard our secondary should be good. Is that true in your eyes? Sam, you should know this from TikTok. Not till Friday, my friend. Look, I think you look a lot of times at what you are returning, and that's a good setup for optimism or not about the season in a specific area. And I think there's a lot of returning talent there that you should be very excited. And it's very young talent that showed out very early. So we'll see. All we're seeing right now is what they want us to see out of practice. In due time, my friend, in due time. All right. Well, I think we already got our next caller in this evening, a little bit early for him, but let's go ahead and go to school, y'all. Y'all called for him, and here he is. What's up, Thomas?
Warrior, we go.
Good to see you, man. Nice. I think we missed you last week, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Well, we made do, Thomas, without you, but it was a little bit lacking without Professor Thomas in our lives.
The Auburn family don't need me. I'm just I'm just a cog in the machine, baby.
Listen, if a cog's missing in the machine, it doesn't run well or at all. So you can. I appreciate your humility, but if it's not here, it feels a little off. Things are clanking, things are rolling off the wrong way. So we missed you is all we're trying to say, and good to see you tonight. So what's on your mind?
Man, it's almost here.
2 weeks, baby. It's almost here. You can't get here soon enough. People chomping at the bit.
I'm so excited to get these next couple weeks out of the way, and just so we can just get back to negative football.
Do you think this week coming up or the week after that game week is going to be worse in terms of like the anticipation?
I think every day leading up to kickoff from tonight is going to be the most stressful of my life this year because I'm just itching so bad for football.
Right.
I can't help it. And I love the fact that I don't like that we're playing on a Friday night, but I like that we get Thursday night college football, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, Monday night, 5 full days of college football in a row.
So let me ask this. I know you said you didn't like Friday night game, and I agree with you. I would prefer college football be played on Saturdays, but knowing that we probably would have been relegated to a day game, does it help knowing it's a night game and that type of atmosphere for Auburn? Like, no, even on
I, I,
Friday.
I don't really know because I've been told that Baylor has a great atmosphere,
Mhm.
and I don't really know enough about Baylor to say it's better during the day or what's an 11 versus a 2:30 versus 6 o'clock,
Sure.
7 o'clock kickoff. I don't really know that much about Baylor's fan base and their culture there on campus. I know they've had some really great games there. They got that great stadium right by the river, but it's a little bit smaller than where Auburn's used to play.
Mhm.
So is it going to affect them or not? I don't know. I hope that a smaller venue, being a night game and just the first game of the year and everybody's hyped up, I hope that that doesn't play into a detriment for our guys,
Okay.
for all. You know, I I don't know what is their stadium seat. Somebody find that out real quick.
I'll look it up while you finish your thoughts on that, but it's not as big as Auburn. I know that much. Baylor Stadium capacity. Here we go. I'll see if I can search it up. 45,140 is your capacity.
45?
45,000. So
My gosh, I thought it was closer to like 60 or something.
And I'll be honest with you, Thomas. So as I said earlier, I've been to Waco quite a few times for family events. And so I've gotten to see that stadium 3 times, twice. And last thing I saw when I left Waco was the stadium last time. And it does look a little bit bigger than 45,000. And that's just the way it's structured on the outside. They are missing not missing, it's just the way it's designed. One of the end zones is more of a berm and it is more open. And so that is where you lack in that. But you would think the way it's kind of built up on the sides and stuff, there'd be a few more seats in there. But I have heard that their atmosphere, in their eyes at least, and others that have been there, it's pretty good. And so I can go with you there that while the football fan in us probably loves the night games, you're looking about what your team is going to benefit from, and certainly being on the road first game in a night game where they're going to be a little bit more raucous, maybe that could play a little bit of a detriment. So I feel you on that.
I mean, we can speculate all we want to. We really can, but we don't know until everybody gets on the field. You put your hand down in the dirt, what's going to happen and how it's going to go. And I'm just so fired up for that. Like my need to know is greater than my fandom, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
I need to see the Auburn Tigers line up and run plays and dominate before I feel good about this. I can be excited all I want to, but I don't know until I know. And when I know is when the game starts and when it ends. And I want the Auburn Tigers to go out there and, you know, I would expect some struggles because there's a lot of new pieces. You know, you can play against the same guys that you eat with every day, but you know their tendencies. We don't know the tendencies of Baylor's, defensive ends. We don't know the tendencies of their cornerbacks. You can watch film all you want to, but until we get on that field and you strap your helmet up and you get after it, you really don't know. And that's what I'm itching for. So I want that. I want to get out there and I want to see our boys play. I want to see them play hard, and I want to see them come back home with a win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. I struggle a lot with this too. I want to be cautious in my. I talked about this a little bit in my predictions and things like that because we have, as fans, been burned a little bit over the last few years in terms of what expectations are for our type of program and what they have been, have or haven't been. So for me, I'm a little bit cautious and just kind of ready for, like you said, some of the questions that I have to be answered. I'll ask it this way for you. Are the questions that you have about this team greater than your excitement about this team?
I want to say no, but I have to be honest and say yes, because I don't have any answers to my questions.
Okay.
But you got to try to balance that. That's a hard thing to do as a fan.
Yeah.
But, I think we've got better pieces than we have had in a long time. Like, we'll just go offensive line. We'll just go ahead and just crack that egg open. We've got the best offensive line we've had since 2017. That is a long time to wait for a good offensive line. So we've got NFL caliber, not guaranteed, but caliber.
But graded, yeah.
Yeah, we've got caliber guys at tackles, guards, and center. God bless Connor Lew, favorite player on the team this year. We've got quality guys. And now we may have had one or two in some other seasons, but when you have 5 dudes lined up that are ready to go, and you've got some quality depth at some positions, I fully expect to see DeAndre Carter out there this year. I fully expect to see Dylan Cinda out there. I wouldn't be surprised if Dylan Cinda came in and played a little center if something went wrong. I think he's got that kind of talent. But I think our 2 deep on the offensive line is good enough that we can consistently go out there and compete week in and week out. I think our defensive line, our starting guys, and maybe 50% of the 2 deep is good enough.
Yeah.
I don't have questions in the secondary. I don't have questions in the receiving room. I don't have questions in the tight end room. There's very few position groups that I have questions about. But the team overall and how they're going to gel and play, that I have questions about.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's really what it cuts down to, because you can have a great defensive back room. You can have a great offensive line, but if the rest of it falls apart, then, what are we doing here? We have a great offensive line, but you can't get the ball off to them, or you can't create, or your running backs are fumbling everywhere, things like that. So I hear you on that. I do. I think that's probably the way that I'm going to think about it more than anything is where do I have questions, more questions than excitement about it, or confidence, or whatever way you want to talk about it. One thing, I don't know if you saw the press conference, the Q&A with some of the players over the last couple of weeks. We shared a few of them on YouTube, but Too Tall, Isaiah Miller, got interviewed in one of them. And if I remember him correctly, and when he was asked a question, you've been running with the 2s and the 1s a lot. How do you feel about that? It seems like he's really embracing this role in his final year of, yeah, I'm a starter, but I also can do a lot by helping the 2s be ready too. What do you make of that? I mean, I frankly like that, because this is a guy that has been a starter, has probably been one of our better guys at times, or more reliable guys, but he's also, it could be encouraging that he's getting, quote unquote, having replaced in some form of his playing time at the 1s. I don't know. I'm wrestling with how I feel about that, because I think a few of us still were anticipating Isaiah starting a lot this year, and he might still. Any thoughts on that? Or
I think that's good. I think that anybody on this team that is positive about their role this year, that's a good thing. It doesn't matter if you're the starter or the 2 or the 3. If you're excited about where you're at in your career at Auburn, that's a good thing. Because if you get on the field, you have an opportunity to put out good tape that could take you to the next level. So if guy that has been a starter for us and has been shuffled around here and there is still excited about whatever position they're going to put him in, that's nothing but good for all.
Yeah, I took that as a good sign of culture too.
Ashton Daniels is excited about not being the starting quarterback. He wants to do whatever he can to make this team better.
Yeah,
that's the caliber of player we need at Auburn right now.
And I think that's a good point too, because what you think about is this. It's great to have the guys like the Eugene Asantes, who are also the guy at their position, and the rah-rah guy. Keldrick Falk is a good example of that too. But when you've got the guys that are clearly, at least in what appears to be, we're still in the middle of preseason, we don't know how it's going to shake out. The backups, in a sense, when they've got that much drive and excitement about their role on this team, that says a little bit something to me about this word that gets tossed around a lot, the culture. But I think that's a good sign. And that's what I kind of took it at. It piqued my interest when I saw that question asked of him this week. And he kind of really the way he addressed it. I liked what I heard for the most part. I was just like, I wasn't anticipating him being so open about that. Dylan Cinda obviously has gotten a lot of call outs by coach and stuff during press conferences. So that's good to hear as well. It seems like a lot of stuff's, I will grant you, everybody's been asking about the offensive line wherever I do content. And I've said, I'm hearing a lot of great things. I just want to see it before I really buy into it. Because as you and I have been addressing for years now, it's been year after year of, is this the time? Are they going to step up? Are they finally going to have that moment where they rise to the occasion consistently? Because as we talked about last time you were here, we saw it for a moment in 2024. We just didn't see it consistently. So what I want to ask of you, maybe for the next 2 weeks, assuming you'll be back again, who's your starting offensive line?
I'll give you it next week or the week after.
Okay. All right. You don't want to do it right now.
I'm going to go on a very deep dive. I've got some specified time off that I can use for football knowledge and personal entertainment and growth and all that. So, but I do have a question for you.
Uh-oh.
All right. It's not a hard one.
Okay. All right.
Don't give me a record for this season. What is your low end and high end expectations for winning?
So my bell curve essentially is what my bell curve. Yeah. It's a little pre from what I would want to normally give this out, but I'll say this. I think right now my bell curve sits somewhere in the 9-win to the 6-win category. I think that's where I'm sitting in terms of, so I guess 9-3, 6-6. So like two extreme ends of that. So you can kind of picture where I'm sitting at, which I don't think is a big revelation to anybody that somebody would be predicting somewhere in the middle of that. But does that answer your question in the best way I can explain it? Yeah.
It does. Part 2, within your personal bell curve.
Yeah.
Where does Hugh Freeze get to keep his job?
Well, like I was saying earlier, I don't really think of it in terms of that because I think there's a lot of context that needs to be talked about within that. I think if you don't go to a bowl game this year, it's going to be hard to not, and that's not within my bell curve. That's not going to be able to, you're not going to be able to save your job. If you make a bowl game this year, that's progress in a sense, but making a bowl game is 6-6. So if you're making a bowl game and you don't, let's put it this way. You make a bowl game at 6-6 and you put out a dud of a bowl game performance, that seat just got even extra hotter and it wouldn't shock me. And it wouldn't be the most shocking revelation in the world. 7-5 feels, it technically is improvement. Is it enough improvement? That most people would say no, but I think most people would say no. I'm just going by the temperature that I see out there. I feel like when you see 8-4 though, that kind of feels like the room where most of the people can be reasonable and say, hey, I don't like it, but it is 2 more wins than he's gotten while he's been here. So we'll hang on there. So I think walking through it that way, I could probably see if in the people that want to address it that way, that's where we probably end up is an 8-4 for people. The majority of the unhappy villagers to be satiated at least a little bit. Is that fair?
I think it's fair. I agree with you. And War Eagle to Devin, that's Mama Bear right there.
Oh, look at what's up, Devin. What's in the kitchen tonight, Devin? So many people who come to this show and we address her that way are probably like, y'all are the biggest sexist in the world. She plays into it.
She is an absolute trooper, and apparently, according to I think it's Instagram I follow her on, she's a bench press guru now.
Do what?
Devin been hitting the gym.
What? Devin, is this true? Are you like out benching everybody else? No, I did not know this. Well, impressive. Listen, I haven't tried to bench press in years, and it would be embarrassing for me to try to do it. So I'm just trying to get rid of this lower part right here that y'all can't see as well. I'm just trying to deal with that right now. Anything else, sir?
I'll mirror the whole bell curve thing. I think our floor is 8 wins, and that can be with a bowl win or without. I think our ceiling is 10. I think that Coach Freeze keeps his job. And I think that about halfway through this season, our 26 recruiting class starts getting a whole lot stronger.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's what everybody feels like that's going to happen. And I think there's a lot of anticipation building towards that, which is why there's so much angst when it doesn't start lining up right now with that narrative. But again, folks, our recruiting director said it best, whether it's about recruiting or a lot of these things. This is not a sprint. This is a marathon. You can't expect people to run. If you want people to run a sprint in a marathon, you will lose. I promise. So anyway.
Absolutely.
All right, buddy. It's always good to hear from you. Thanks for taking us to school, and we look forward to talking to you next week.
War Eagle, y'all. I believe in Auburn, and I dadgum love.
War Eagle, man. All right. Good to hear from Thomas. Good to hear from Kevin. You guys can take advantage of the call-in link as well. Very easy to do. Just click on that link at the top of the chat on YouTube. Scroll up to the top on Facebook. X people have to come over here. If you're watching the replay, I'm sorry. But please do take the opportunity to call in if you'd like. It's a free thing that we offer to you guys. We want to hear from more of you, all your opinions, your thoughts, your questions, your topics, even if it's not Auburn sports related. This is about the Auburn experience here, and we will get into any aspect of it pretty much. Pretty much. Someone asked it earlier, so let me go back just for a minute and address. Yes, Malcolm Simmons had his charges dropped this week, alongside already being cleared by the not the athletic department, the university. It was a step higher than that, by their Title IX office, which is a big deal. So all of those things to be said, I think obviously there was a lot that people on the surface didn't know about the situation. A lot of it came to light, while you always want to be respectful of all involved, allegedly or clearly involved in the situation, I think we can rest now that at the very least, things were not as bad as they quite appeared at time, at least from what we currently know right now. But I hope everything works out in the best possible way it can for all parties involved. I'm very thankful that he is back, though. Let's see here. Thomas Manshaw, what the heck? Bench pressing is easy if you try. I try really hard sometimes, and it does not work out. Neil says, I'm wondering if AU is struggling in recruiting for 2026 because players don't know if Coach Freeze will be around. I mean, surely it's an easy narrative to walk out to. And I'm not saying there's not any of that at play, but I disagree with this notion that it's not going well. Or that it was not going well. If we're talking about a small window of time where you can just like pick your point in time and say, well, it wasn't going well in this small subsect of a whole race. It's kind of it goes back to this. Kenyatta Watson said it best. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So I don't really necessarily agree with the notion that it was just bad or anything like that. Devin gave us we're having steak and green beans tonight. And yeah, I'm going to the gym. Not sure how impressive benching 85 pounds is. Bench pressing the iron skillets, man, oh man. This is from Felix. Says, I really think Hugh is the coach for many years to come, like Tubby and Gus. He can recruit his butt off for sure. Absolutely. That's what he sold himself on. That's what it was probably his strongest asset in terms of what he brought to the table. Obviously the success at all the programs that he's been to, but that's probably the biggest thing. And he's done that in his short time here. You bring that up because coaches from other schools love to use that tactic on potential players. Allegedly they do. There's no facts to prove that that's happened other than what somebody has said in hearsay. But here's what I will say about any tactic in recruiting. If it's not illegal and it's a way to help yourself and hurt your opponent, it really is not much off bounds. It may be in bad taste. It may not be the most ethical way of doing that, but that's just the name of the game, right? There's allegedly schools that have been offering, numbers before they were allowed to, or figures or deals before they're allowed to, think things in writing, things like that. I don't really get into all that because I think it's just too confusing with the NIL. But yeah, there are tactics that are used, I'm sure, on some level by every single one. Dan Mullen was notorious for using that tactic. I think everyone's probably been notorious at some point for using some tactic. We just don't have any proof of it other than that. Thomas, thank you for the donation. Appreciate you, sir, helping keep the lights on. By the way, for those of you that watched the show on Sunday night, if you're not there, you're missing out. Y'all literally watched me lose my mind at the start of the show. Austin had to literally pull us together. When I say helping keep the lights on with donations like this, y'all, I even showed y'all the light that collapsed. It's fixed now. And this light in front of me is working again, as you can clearly tell, but it literally clicked to start the show and just fell apart. But we're back. So thank you, Thomas, for literally helping keep the lights on, because we were about to have to buy some new equipment today. And granted, it's probably time for some things to be updated. It's been about 2 years or so, but I was not anticipating having a box light collapse on me. If you have not watched that early segment of the Auburn Experience, you need to. I was probably in rare form. Negative recruiting is certainly always going to be around. Well, it's just recruiting, right? I sometimes wonder why we call it negative recruiting. Recruiting is that you are trying to sell yourself, and sometimes you have to sell yourself, or what's the word I'm looking for? Unsell? You have to sell against the person that you're competing against. And so I guess that is negative recruiting, but I think it's not as big as we talk about it sometimes. Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm sure that's happened in the grand scheme of things. I'm not got no proof of that, but that would be a very dubious way of getting the job done for yourself. You really do have to question people who've done that. And there are fans that do that type of stuff. Of course, those are the ones with anonymous accounts and things like that. Smart learn to cheat from the best. Maybe so. Maybe so. Once again, we got to have some proof of it. You know, what's funny about that, my dad, my late father, obviously one of the big reasons I'm an Auburn fan, he, I found after he passed away, he had a closet full of research that he did trying to connect the dots between a lot of the Alabama car cheating schemes. And I looked at some of that stuff and I'm like, I probably can't prove any of this even with all this, but man, he did some detailed research on that. And, you know, there's enough of a narrative out there. You kind of have to go, something smells pretty fishy. But here's the reality of it, folks. The lines are always crossed. Doesn't make it right, but everybody does it. Everybody cheats in a sense. I don't like it, but it's just the reality of what the situation is when you're trying to keep your jobs in this business. I know. I've seen it at work. It's real. I'm just ready to put him up there with Pat Dye. Really surprised myself to say Tubby, but he's not far off from him. So I'm just ready to put him up. Yeah, I wouldn't put Hugh up there with Pat Dye quite yet, if that's what you were saying. And Tubby, I wouldn't put as well. Tubby's one of our best coaches in terms of success and stuff. But like, I think there's a tier system of coaches you could go with. Shug, Mike Donahue, and Pat Dye. And then there's probably your next group. I think by winning a national title, you got to put Gene Chizik up there. You may not like that, but he did get us a national championship. Probably Tommy. You could debate whether Terry kind of belongs in there. Maybe that subgroup is Terry and Gus had success, but not the success that people wanted necessarily or needed at that time. There's probably a tier of all those things. Corey says Kieron Crawford will be one of my favorite this season after knocking Austin's block off. I must have missed that one. I am very excited to see what he can do because there's so much attention, rightfully so, being focused on Keldrick Falk. What's going to happen when they put so much attention on him on the other side? Kieron Crawford could eat this year. He could absolutely eat. And everybody that's rotating in him with him on that side of the defense. Okay. Are we thinking Derek Nix calling the most of, are we thinking to let Derek Nix call the most part of the play con, or is Coach Freeze more with that role? I don't think it's good to have three guys calling plays. Yeah. So let me address this, Alan. First of all, I am shocked that this is such a big story and a revelation this year. This was addressed last year, and I'm shocked that it's not even just fans picking up on it. You're picking up on it because media people are running with it, and I'm not faulting them for that. I'm shocked that this has become such a big news story this week. This was addressed multiple times. I addressed this on the show multiple times when people would say, well, who's the play caller? I said, well, it's been addressed not just by Hugh, but by the other offensive coaches. It goes in this order. Derek Nix is the offensive play caller, the primary one. And the way they was broken down in some interviews this week is that on first down, he is the one that heavily is making that. On third down, and this was said last year, Kent Austin, the quarterback coach, gets heavily involved, especially if there's a down in a very long distance situation, which makes a lot of sense, to be honest with me. And Hugh has oversight and overruling power over all of them. He's the offensive minded head coach. That makes a lot of sense. I guess I just don't get why that's such a big revelation this week. Like, duh, to me, not a shot at you, Alan, for asking it or anything like that. I'm very curious why that's such a big thing this week, especially in the media. But I listen, if it works, it works. It doesn't, it doesn't. I don't think just saying last year they tried it that way and it didn't work on some level is enough to say it won't work this time around. What else here? Pat Dye had Auburn competing year after year. He really turned Auburn around. Absolutely, he did. Still miffed about that. Miffed. I haven't heard that word in a while. Miffed about that 1983 season. Yeah, Elijah Melendez is a behemoth of a man. Listen, I know it was weird when Austin and I brought his picture up on screen for that one segment of the Auburn experience and everybody made fun of it for us, but you see what we're talking about now. There's been those pictures circulating of him in camp and just from high school as well, of just how ginormous of a human for his age he looks like. A lot of people have asked me, who's the player that's got you most interested in camp so far? And this has nothing really to do outside of camp. It's just because he looks to fit the part of a college linebacker already. It's Elijah Melendez. So a lot of that going on this week. It's very interesting. Let's see what I had to start here. Oh yeah, that was the thing we already thanked Thomas for. I was making sure I didn't miss something though. Let me scroll back down to the bottom. Why did it move all my things there? Okay. Thomas says all the coaches have the same signals in their headset. Freeze will make the final call. The reasoning with the other coaches making calls is to funnel options to the head coach depending on the situation. Thomas, I'm just going to let you talk from now on. You can explain that so much better. Yeah, I think, once again, this is just a case of some fans, not all. I know there's just intrigue about it this week, so everybody's going to be naturally curious. Overthinking this. Like, it's very simple. There's always a collective thought process in these things, and Hugh gets to override because he's the head coach as the offensive mind, and it is a trickling down what did you say here? A funnel option to help mitigate all of that. I think that's the main thing with this topic. All we care about is results, right? So it doesn't matter how it gets done. But you need to make sure if that's what you've openly talked about that you're doing, that it's working. If it doesn't, we got to figure something out pretty quickly to change it. So I'll see. I'll hold my judgment on that, but I don't see any reason to be worried about that at this point right now. I think it's better than the 4 quarterback system Gus had versus Clemson. I'm trying to remember exactly what you're referring to in that one. Who were the 4 quarterbacks? Which ones were those? I can't remember. I vaguely have a memory of this. And I think it was when I was at a wedding reception. Unfortunately, someone once again scheduled a wedding during an Auburn football game. Not like I didn't. How about this? I didn't schedule it. My wife did. Yeah, and I agree with this. And I think we always need to be, I agree with this statement, Thomas. And I am in some essence the media as well in just a smaller fashion and viewed sometimes as not as important, which I kind of agree with. But listen, our job is to inform and entertain. Both. People will try to act like they're just there to inform, but you're there. Are you not entertained? And so, yes, some things are brought up at certain times when they know it's going to stir a certain thing in a fan base. This is very antsy. You saw a lot of this throughout the summer, and you can't fault them in a sense. The responsibility lies ultimately with the fans, with the consumers of the content. If they know that you're going to overreact and click, they're going to do those things more often. It's just the nature of the beast. And I hate it, but it's the reality. We try very hard to stay away from some of that. There's an element of that we kind of have to play with. If something's hot, we have to run with it, but we're not going to try to lead you. And I'm not saying anyone has done that in particular. It's just the reality of we've seen it out there in the nebulous thing called the media, even outside of Auburn sports and things like that. Why does no one care who calls the defense? Because the defense was pretty dang good last year, and there's not a lot of questions that need to be addressed on that one. Yeah, Neil said it. All right, Unbeaten Lake was talking about the 4-quarterback system that allegedly Gus had in the Clemson game. Sean White, John Franklin, Jeremy Johnson, Chandler Cox all swapping it. Well, let's remove the hyperbole from that. He may have run something at quarterback in essence, but it was really just a wildcat. So let's remove Chandler Cox from that. It's a little bit hyperbolic. Now I do remember this as well. Sean ended up winning the starting job that year, right? And Jeremy was kind of on his downward spot, and John Franklin was supposed to be the guy that was going to be like Nick Marshall and come save us again. And that I didn't really believe that was going to happen. I vaguely remember this now, but they ended up going with Sean White, who, if he had stayed out of trouble, would have worked out really well. Same thing with Jeremy Johnson. The crazy thing about Jeremy, and listen, Jeremy, if you ever see this, I say this 1,000 times. We saw with our own eyes that it was going to work. That's the thing that I had the hardest time processing. In legitimate SEC competition where it was all on Jeremy Johnson, we saw it. It worked. It really did. And then it didn't. It stopped working. I can't make it make sense. Can't make it make sense. Do you think Mabson gets any carries against Baylor? I think once again, it's a little bit premature to be jumping on just because we're hearing a lot of good things about him doesn't mean that he's necessarily going to get any snaps. It doesn't mean he won't, but I think that you also have to, this is why I stress context. You have to understand why a lot of that attention was happening. He took advantage of the opportunities that were given to him and made waves with it and showed maybe he needs to be considered. But people forget that leading up into practices this first couple weeks, you had Jeremiah Cobb, who was dealing with a broken thumb, had to be limited and got cleared finally. Darrell Robinson, who didn't get to play in spring because he was nursing an injury, and from my understanding was cautiously being worked into that. So when you remove 2 of the 4 that were in theory above him, meaning Omar Mabson, of course he's going to get more opportunities. Thus, if he's worth anything, he's going to start showing some really good things. And I'm just happy to know that we saw that out of him. So I really wouldn't overthink that too much, but it is nice to know it appears we've got a very deep, all the way down to 5 guys, running backs that can do things. That should be a very big encouragement. Let's see here. I was at the AU Louisville game. Me too. When Jeremy Johnson got his start, AU won, but Johnson threw a couple picks. Here's the funny thing about this, Neil. I literally watched this highlight reel on my walk before I did the show. It's so weird that you're saying this tonight. AU won, but he threw a couple picks. Lamar Jackson came in for Louisville, and I thought, wow, that guy's going to be good. Here we are. Juxtapose that. Now, they did end up losing the game, Louisville, but you want to talk about some annoying fan bases? They do this the entire and go cards. And it's like they try to not act like they're doing the loser symbol and like bend their fingers that way a little bit. It was the weirdest thing ever. Yeah, there's a lot of ifs and buts from that Clemson game. Gus should have recruited Lamar. Auburn, he did recruit Lamar, and he lost the recruiting battle in that sense. He did. I do remember that. Do you feel that people are not giving Jackson a fair shake because of last year? Oh, I know it for a fact. A lot of them aren't. And that is so foreign to any reality and context-based conversations, because if you assume that nobody improves, we've seen examples where people maybe just didn't improve or not get worse. But if you just believe that the majority of people don't improve, you're going to have to explain to me how you got better at your job, how you got promotions, probably all that kind of stuff. People love to just point out the obvious in social media, sports conversation, to act like they know what they're talking about and sound like they're being edgy and like Jackson Arnold ain't going to get it done, threw too many picks last year. But what does that mean about this year? You going to give him a chance to get better? So yes, I know that's what's happened a lot. Alex will probably feel the most love this year when he hits the field. A lot of folks have been praying for his health. Absolutely, Corey. I think you'll get a big cheer. He might get the biggest cheer when he's announced on there. If he's announced as the starter when everything comes out at the start of the game. I will forever blame the media for Jeremy Johnson. They built him up so high. We believed he was something he wasn't, or he believed something he wasn't, and then he burned down after the Jacksonville State game. I mean, it's on the fans too. It's a double-edged thing. It's not just on them, y'all. And I say y'all, I was part of it too. You don't have to believe it. The media is just reporting what they can and doing their best job that they can. It doesn't mean that they get it right all the time. And I think sometimes, especially in recruiting, we need to take a step back and actually think, does this star actually mean as much as I think as it does, or I'm told that it does? Chances are probably not. Thomas says Arnold had poor blocking and subpar wide receivers, injured wide receivers as well, not just subpar. Of course, he looked poor at times. Yeah, that's context-based stuff right there. You will look bad if you are running for your life / being injured yourself, which I think he was, because you're not being protected, aka Bo Nix too here, and your wide receivers aren't getting the job done. It's obvious that the wide receiver room has vastly improved at Auburn, so that can't be a big part of the equation if it doesn't work. It can't just be on the quarterback. It's also got to be the offensive line too. It's across the whole board though, but things are improving on the offensive line. Running back room looks pretty good. We'll see how the offensive line overall looks, but ought to be figured out. Yeah, glad you're talking about that. Okay. Throw into the 4th and 5th wide receivers on the depth chart, Oklahoma running. I can't imagine any quarterback would look great. It was pretty rough. Pretty rough for him at times. All right, we are at 57 minutes. I lost track of time there because we were jumping around to a bunch of different things. So thank you guys for and you can keep bringing up some of those. We'll round out the conversation here. If anybody wants to call in tonight, we'd love for you to. Again, I'm going to encourage some of our regulars here. We would love for you to just give it a try. You don't have to be on camera. I know that's a bit of I acknowledge it is a big step forward to do that, but we truly would like to hear from some of you guys that have been here for a while. So give it a try sometime. Just click the link, just come in and say hello, and then get out of here. And you don't have to stay long, but do give that a try if you can. We'd love to make this the year where the most people call in, especially during the season like we normally get, as possible. I would love to have an Auburn family night like we've had in the past, where it is me going from caller to caller to caller and letting you guys take center stage, as this is meant for you guys, this Auburn Family Night. Okay, couple of questions and comments maybe from you guys to round out the show, but let me remind you of a few things. Hope to see you back next Wednesday. Auburn Family Night will be back, of course, 9 Eastern time on Wednesday. The Auburn Experience, episode 138, our main podcast of everything that we do. You can watch the sausage being made live with Austin and myself on Sunday evening, every Sunday evening outside of schedule conflicts. At 9 Eastern time as well. So Wednesdays and Sundays, 9 Eastern time, you know where to be. You're here with us, E2C Network. Join us again. We would love to spend some more time with you in that format. We'll have a good time. Next week, this next episode, we're probably going to do our first predictions, maybe the first half of the season walkthrough and predictions. Don't want to miss that. I think it's going to be a good show. As always, we want to remind you to download the podcast. If you haven't done that, you're missing out on some other good content there. Not only the regular show, but also you've got Everett Podcast, which I catch you up on Auburn news of all kinds throughout the week. There's 2 episodes already out this week. Episode 52 comes out tomorrow. So join us for that if you can. And plenty of other things to get involved with. If you'd like to support us, if you'd like to be connect with us, contact us. Links are in the description. If you need a link, DM us, email e2cnetwork@gmail.com, and you can make sure that you get your voice heard by us. All right, let's see. What do we got here in questions to round out the show? Herb Hand destroyed the O-line for 10 years and only coached for 2. Oh, okay. I was going to say he didn't coach for 10 years at Auburn, but only coached for 2. Let that sink in. I don't disagree. It's not just Herb Hand. Again, there's a little bit more context that needs to be in that, but it started there. Yep, Felix, we want to hear from you, man. So definitely do that when you can. Neil says, Kyle, what's your favorite place to eat in AU on game day? So this answer is going to be boring because I have to be very strategic when, where, how I eat. I am very blessed sometimes to have people invite me over to tailgates just to grab something to eat really quick. It doesn't happen as much as you think, but every once in a while. I am busy all game day at the games. I'm gathering content, sharing it out on the different platforms where it's appropriate. So sometimes there's not really, especially those earlier games, there's not as much time for flexibility. I have tried, since I'm going to eat so poor on the weekends and while I'm there, on game days to break away from the crowd and go eat at Tzatziki's a lot to get something that's halfway decent for me. If I had my choice, I would probably be eating Mama G's or probably Little Italy or Moe's somewhere downtown, or just someone's tailgate. But in terms of like my favorite places to eat in Auburn, I mean, I haven't met a bad place yet, but Mama G's, Byron Smokehouse on Opelika, Niffers on Opelika, Stacks downtown for breakfast. I mean, there's all kinds of good stuff. You can't miss it, right? Yes, Alan, we were so glad that you made it onto the show for such a long time this evening. I need y'all to go to, I need you to go to Central Time. Us old folks have an early bedtime. Yeah, we've explained why we moved back. It was for a variety of reasons. We fought against it for a long time. I think it's better serving my needs as well. It was really more of a trying to find more of a room where there was less competition than that time on YouTube. But it also has helped me in lots of areas with my personal schedule. So I unfortunately don't see us shifting back an hour for now. It always can change, but it's worked out pretty well. And it seems like most of y'all have transitioned over here. But I hope we bring the value to you guys when you're here. And it's worth staying up late. Old is a state of mind, but it's also a reality too. Eating red beans and rice right now. I'm sure you don't want to hear me eating that. No, thank you. That's wow. Yes, a good tailgate food is always good. Rodney checking in at the end, sir. We miss you. We miss seeing you on the live show, so you got to be here 9 Eastern time. Always love seeing you on the comments at the end, but glad you at least got to pop in. Hugh, great question. What are the best eateries at Waco? I have been trying to kind of get myself prepped for the season. I actually have a lot of connections to Waco. My brothers both went to seminary there. And both of them married someone from, well, they went to school at Waco, and one of them is from Waco originally, the latest one. So I actually have this idea to maybe do a show with my new sister-in-law and maybe some of her family, like our brothers, to give here's a guide to Waco type of thing for game day. If that works out. I haven't talked to them yet, so if they're hearing this, sorry. But it's a good question. There's some good places out there that they talk about a lot. I'm struggling to remember some of them, but we want to provide content like that to you here. So that's a great question. Eat healthy and hit the gym. I'm older than you, but I don't want to eat healthy and I don't want to hit the gym. It's boring, but I have to. Anyway. All right, guys. Thanks for being here tonight. Great show as always. We appreciate you spending your Wednesday nights with us. Join us next week, 9 Eastern time, 8 Central. Join us Sunday night, 9 Eastern time, 8 Central for the Auburn Experience. All kinds of content across podcasts, social media, video content on YouTube and elsewhere. Don't miss out on it. Follow, subscribe, like everywhere. You guys are the best little family within the Auburn family. Till we get to talk to you again. War Eagle.